I can't wait to see what people have done.
Yeah, I've seen a few things during
Oh
the
yeah?
week, just a couple, but very interesting, really
Cool.
imaginative, good stuff. Miss Beth, did you do anything?
Mine was a disaster.
Sometimes those are good.
No, not this time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I like that.
There was something on the styrofoam that made these big dark on every single.
Oh,
It was, I guess, warped or something.
oh, okay.
So I
Well,
didn't get a
a good print. Well,
good
was the
clean.
other side better? Was the other side like
No, it
clean?
had writing on it,
Oh, it had writing. Okay.
recycle numbers, and you can't even see
Okay.
it, but
Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Because sometimes one side is better than the other.
yeah. Well, I'll keep looking.
There you go. Hi, Lynn.
I,
Michelle, did you find anything to use, Michelle?
not yet.
Okay. I'm really curious about that one because it's always good to know about different materials.
Can I show you my print?
Oh, yes, please.
Nice.
Oh, very nice. Could you just go up a little bit? Up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hold it up a little more.
Oh, they're like little teacups,
Yeah.
coffee cups.
How cute.
Very nice.
And when I used to make it rougher, I pressed too hard, so it
Okay.
now looks like it's etched.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing. But I know what you mean. You have to just press lightly. But those are very cute. I mean, it could be put into a card or a set of little prints. It's
Yeah.
adorable.
And on this one I painted in the little trees because it was all blurry.
Okay. Well, that's the idea
So
of
this
putting
one up
painting
here.
into printmaking, a
Mm.
combo.
Cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
It's kind of fun, right?
It is. It takes a little bit of skill because sometimes it's too blurry and other times it's not visible. And I
Yeah.
guess I'm pressing too hard or too light or putting too
Yeah.
much heat.
That's the thing that takes practice for sure. The printing part, once you get the image and you get the paint on and then you hold your breath and then you put it on the paper, it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? So it's always a surprise,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. Hi, Manna.
Hi.
How are you?
I want to show you what I tried.
Oh, good. Love it.
Well, I was trying to get a card that said happy birthday. So this is my first attempt, and this was with the acrylic in the more liquidy.
Okay.
But then I decided I should get some of those tubes.
Okay.
I got the tubes. The first one, I'll show you the first one.
Oh,
That's
Um,
Bad. Not
but
bad.
I forgot to dip it in water. So I tried it again, dipping it in water.
The brush or what? Dipping what?
The brush in the water and then in the,
Oh, in the paint. Okay. Okay.
so it's all right. It's a beginning.
Yes, it is. And it's a nice beginning because doing type is probably one of the more challenging things. So
Yeah.
that's very brave of you. Very brave.
Then I did try, where's my other one? I tried making a scene. This was the first ones. You can't exactly
Oh,
tell
it's
Yeah.
ocean. I see it. Sure.
with the sun.
Little sailboat.
Yeah. So I
Okay. I
tried
like
that.
your colors a lot.
Thank you. And then I tried just a little, like you did, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like geometric stuff. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So were you happy with anything?
Well, I feel like it's a beginning.
Of course it is. It's a new thing, a new
And,
beginning.
and
Good.
at the end of next week, we're going to the beach with our grandchildren.
Oh,
And I
fun.
figured this is something that they could do because
Yes, it is.
they
Absolutely.
love to doodle. They're better than me at that. And then if they use the pen, and then I have all these paints now,
Absolutely.
that might be something fun.
And it is. And you know what? It's not like it's a masterpiece. You know, they shouldn't feel inhibited at all. It's like you know, it's like whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, well, they're
So-
better at uninhibited than me.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Well, today we're gonna just try something that's even a little more, because we're gonna be, instead of actually, well, we're gonna do two things. Hi there. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna be doing two things. One is actually working from a photograph, translating that into and on the foam. And the other one is gonna be a debossing technique, where you're actually, instead of drawing, you're actually pressing things into the foam. But I'm going to show you step by step. So we'll have two more, and that might be kind of a cool thing at the beach if they find shells or things there. You can even press that into the foam, and
Oh,
it'll give an impression. So you know, it's another way of looking at it.
now here's another question. The paint came with this thing. It's a sponge.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with it.
Well, you can make, you know, you can make a design with it. You can,
Right.
I've never seen a paint set come with a sponge, although maybe they're thinking that you're going on, oh, and that too?
Yeah.
Wow, what a bargain.
I just don't know.
You
what-
know, and you get extra stuff. It's always a treat. Well, the palette knife for mixing for sure. But that's pretty grand when you're going to do a lot of mixing.
Yeah.
But you know, we're doing a little bit of mixing here.
Okay.
So
Maybe the sponge is for cleaning up.
the sponge, there you go. I was going to say, sometimes I use a sponge when I'm out, like in a park or somewhere. If I need to wipe something off, clean the brush or clean a surface, you know, it's kind of a cleanup tool for me. Although I have used sponges to put down paint and then put a water wash over that, and you get a really nice effect. So you can try that.
Okay.
I don't think I have any sponges here. Maybe I'll look around and see if I can bring one to the table. That might be fun.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I have one right handy. Well, what do you know? There we go. It's not as nice. This is kind of a natural sponge, but it'll do the same thing.
I found though, I don't have them right now. I don't know where they went, but that was good for making little leaves on trees.
Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly. You can use it
I
for
don't know
that.
what this would do.
But that's more, you know, what is it? Machined. This is more irregular. But we'll try something with it later if we have a moment.
Mhm.
So everybody's done something this week. Has anybody else have something to show? No? Okay, well, I have seen some really interesting things come across in an email for me. And the one gal, I think it was Cheryl, did some monarch butterflies.
Wow.
That perfect for this because they're so graphic. And does anybody else have something to show? No? Lady on the end. I can't remember the names of her. Sally. Sally, do you have something to show, Sally?
Sorry, I was muted. I don't have anything to show right now.
Okay, well, that's all right. I just thought maybe you did.
Karen,
Yes.
I always like to save, if you have prints that didn't come out, or you have ghost prints, which is like that, like maybe the first print or the last print, like
Yes.
just prints that don't meet your standard or whatever. I keep them all because I think they make great collage, you know, just a collection of great collage scraps.
Oh, yeah, there's a pile in this room too.
Yep. And if you were to maybe do something with a photograph or do something, you know, with another image, it's a nice little background on top of your cardstock.
Right.
A lot of times, I saw some of the ones that people just showed. I think would be beautiful.
As a background, yeah, mixture.
Background, and even mixing the two prints together sometimes is nice. You know, alone maybe not enough interest, but maybe with something else.
Yeah,
They
and
make-
if you do a torn edge,
Yeah, yeah,
That's kind of cool. It makes them look more naturally combined.
exactly. Yep.
I have
That it-
these two.
Who's that?
That one,
I
Marilyn.
have a question.
Yeah,
I
Sarah,
Marilyn.
have some block printing ink.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
That's cute.
Oh, I love that.
there you go. Hey, that looks much better in person. Marilyn,
Yeah.
where are you, Marilyn?
I'm at home.
Oh, okay. No, I realize that. That's kind of cool. And you drew into it, right? You drew
Yep.
into the print
And
after?
this one too.
Okay. Now,
Cute.
who's the baby boy? Is it coming?
No, I just happened. I started as Cinderella, and then I said, nah, I don't think Cinderella.
Well, there's a good beginning. Cinderella to a baby boy. Okay. Oh,
Great.
very nice. Okay. And you have headphones on. Okay. Now, where is Sally? She had a question.
I have a question. I have some block printing ink that was left over from years ago. Could this be used also?
Yeah, I think it could be. It probably takes a little longer to dry. That would be the only, hold up. But if it wasn't used real thick, but it has a different compound, so it does take longer to dry. Then acrylics are plastic based, but sure, why not? In fact, I wanted to show today a different acrylic that's being offered now. It's called Thick Body. See that thick body acrylic? It comes in every color. And the reason I got it was because some people were using a limited amount of paint. So I thought, well, if it's limited, if you get one color and you can work with that, and then, oh, kitty time. This thick body actually prints very well, which I'm going to show you today. And it's very similar, Sally, to the block printing inks. Now, do you have any block prints that you did years ago?
Somewhere. I have fish prints. I made prints of fish that my husband caught.
Oh, you actually inked them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they great? I
They were
I love fish prints. I love. Maybe that's my water sign taking over. But okay. Anyway, thick body. I'm going to refer to that a few times today. I happened to buy this in Hobby Lobby because that's where they had the display. But I'm sure it's in other places. And the brand name is Master's Touch. Oh my! So maybe we'll all get a Master's Touch on that one. So thick body acrylic, every color, and you have to get the consistency right. But it takes a little practice with that. So, any other work from this week? No? Are we going to have rain today or what? I don't know. So maybe. It's so humid. Oh my word. Look at this hair.
Yeah.
It just gets bigger, bigger,
Yes.
bigger and bigger. I have to put a headband and all kinds of stuff. Oh my. But such is life, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So now, did you all get any emails from me today collectively?
No.
Or this week, I should say. Did you get anything from me? Do you remember?
I don't think so.
No.
That hookup is not that great. If you could all just send me individually, if I don't have it, send me your email. I have a lot of them, but if I don't have it, just send it to me. To Bastille Day, BASTILLEDAY at AOL. Bastille Day 14 at AOL.com. But if because I keep trying to send things, and for some reason, one email out of the group will come up and not let the other ones go through. No, I don't know the reason why. These computers, right? Sometimes they're wonderful, and sometimes they're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They can be temperamental, as they say. Okay. Now I don't know if everybody's almost here. They should be. Let's see, maybe Michelle can tell us.
I have 14, including, so I have 12 on the call. So we are missing a few for sure.
Okay, well, we'll give it a couple more minutes.
We're just popped on, so now we're up. I got
There's 15.
yeah.
15, you see? Oh, yes, okay.
I think we can wait another minute. No, it's 5 after. We can get started if you want. I think we're fine.
You think we are?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to start by saying what we're doing and show you a finished sample, and then I'm going to go through the actual method of doing it. This week we're going to be doing something where we're using a debossed method, and that means that if this is the foam, I don't know how well you can see. Let me see if I can adjust this light a little bit. You see how things look like they're pressed in, like little circles, little lines, things that are pressed in. So that's a debossing method. And what happens is, of course, the ink goes all above that, and anything that's debossed will be white. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to use this as in black. I'm going to print this in black, and then we're going to add color on top of that. Now, the one that this one that I actually did, I'll show you the finish. First of all, when it just comes out black, this is what happens. Okay, it's abstract and geometric and you know, just free form, as I call it. And then after you add some color, this is what happens. You know, there was a pair of scissors in orange. There was a key here in yellow. There was a cutter that was a circle in green. These lines here were made with a fork tines. So there's all kinds of things you can do with things that are just laying around. And, you know, it's a matter of, you know, here and there. It's a matter of what you like to see, and then you can just try things. I also tried some coins. They weren't very successful, but the shape is there anyway. So it's going to go from debossing something on the foam to printing in black to adding color after. Now the color can be added with marker, it can be added with watercolor, it can be added with color pencil, it can be added any way you like. It can be even added with acrylic paint on top. So this is the debossing method. Okay, the other thing we're going to try today is working from a photograph. Now I'm going to show you one I did. It's going to look a little bit like a rat's nest, whatever that looks like. And here's the photograph. It's at the gardens behind the library. They have some absolutely beautiful flowers there. This is a peony, you know, surrounded by other things. So I went from this to this. And this is what I mean by, you know, the translation between the photograph and the actual image on the foam looks a little bit helter-skelter. But once you put the paint on, this is the final print from it, and that's without adding any other paint or anything to it. You could get in there and add lights and darks and really embellish if you wanted to, but I sort of liked it just the way it was, because you can still see the leaves and the peonies and, you know, the distinction of what's there. So that's our second, and I'm not going to be using this photograph. I'm going to be using something a little simpler, because this one was, after I went for this, I said, oh my goodness, that's not really fair. So even though it was a good attempt and it's a good example of what happens between here and here, it was a little difficult. Okay, let's start. We're going to go to the table now, Michelle. Okay.
When you made that second print, did you wash off the foam and then put the colors on again?
Which one?
The flowers you just showed us.
No, you know what I did? I just added more paint. I went back and I didn't wash off in between. I just added more paint where it had lightened up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. On to the table. Okay, now, of course, here's the foam. And what I've done here, I sort of started looking at some different shapes. I had this metal cutter, you know, just a plain cutter. I guess it could be used for cutting cookie bars or whatever. Then I had like a round cutter. Then I said, well, you know, I sort of like K's everywhere. Have you noticed? They're they're in back of me, and they're in my life, and it's just an initial. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to somehow incorporate the letter K into this deboss, because this is made of wood. Whoops, this is made of wood, and it will, you know, you can press it in. It has some weight to it. So I'm looking at those three things, the square cutter, the round, and the K. And let's see, is that better? Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, and then another thing that was intriguing was, you know, these ball chains that you can use for a keychain or whatever, but they make a very interesting pattern into the foam. Okay, let me see if I can, that's a little better, right? There we go. Okay, so let me try. I originally pressed in, and you can get up and press down. You can even use a book if this is like too hard. And I made the impression of the square. Okay, now I'm going to take the round cutter, and in the middle of the square, I'm going to actually stand up here because you get a little more leverage. And then you press in. You can even twist around if you feel like you're going to get a little more. So there's a circle now. You can see the circle, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, let me see if I put a circle in this corner. I'm just looking for just, you know, just shapes, just interesting shapes. Okay, so we have a couple of squares, we have a couple of circles. Now let's see what happens with the K. And what do we have to remember about the K? Yes, backwards, because then it won't be right. Okay, so I'm turning the K over on its front side, and I'm going to press in. And you can, you know what, there's a crackling sound that you hear from when you get into the foam. And it sort of helps you. Well, this is not that great, but let me try again. I'm going to get something to press with. Let's try a book on top of here. Might give you a little more leverage. Bless you, bless you. Okay, this is a little better. I think as long as I can see something, then I'll be able to build on that idea. Okay, so there's the attempt at the K. And just to add one more thing here, and I think I'm just going to do a little piece of chain, because otherwise it's getting too crowded for a small piece of foam. I'm gonna, just so you can see what happens when you do push something into the foam that looks like this. And you know, look around your house and you can see what items might be really cool. And just keep pressing. Until you see an impression. Okay, now let's see, can we see some of the impressions in there? Yeah, I think you can. Okay, put these over here. Now we're going to use the thick body black paint. I'm just going to put some on my palette there. And we're going to rough up our surface so it's not too shiny on the first print. And you know, if you wanted to, even though it's a little bit of a, you know, a departure from what we're doing, I could actually go around that K a little bit. So I think I'm going to just try that. I'm going to put the K back on just so I can see where it is and how it should be working. And you're still debossing because you're still debossing with the ballpoint pen. Okay, so now I can embellish that a bit so that I get something from it. The other things I think went in far enough. Okay. Alrighty, now we're ready. We got our paper and we got our ink here. And like I said, this thick body needs a little more water than a normal acrylic because it's actually thicker and creamier and a little stronger. So you need to lube it up. Okay. Once again, the paint on. Now, since we're only using black here, we want it to be pretty well covered. You can see where the resist is happening or not. And then we're going to print this a couple of times because I want you to see that you can go back and work an area if it's not to your liking. And this doesn't feel like it's heavily black. I'm not going to really make it real heavy this first time. I want to see what's going on with the image. Okay, so we have the paint on. Now let's go to the printing surface. Okay, so there's what we have. And most of the things are pretty distinct. The K is over here, the chain is here, the squares, yeah. And I think it's pretty interesting. The second print I'm gonna make heavier and darker black. Okay, we'll try that and see what happens. And it's better if you went for full black heavy coverage on the first round, it would be, I don't know, it kind of filled in and not as, it wouldn't work as well. So here we go. Now I'm going to mix a little more paint in there. And sometimes what's really good, in fact, I might do it this time, is add some blue to the black. In graphic design, often when we were printing on press and we had what they call a heavy black area, which they call a double black, they would run blue under the black first to get a really saturated black. So in painting, I sort of brought that with me from my days in the graphics world. So add a little blue, and that's something to put in your, your library of thought. Okay, now you can see the coverage is different, heavier, more impactful. And, adding the blue adds a little more interest. It's sort of, I don't know, richer in a way. Okay. So. Okay, and you can see the coverage there is heavier than it was the first time. Okay, I'll bring the printing paper back over. Okay. A moment of truth. Okay, now you can see the difference, of course, in the color, and it's a little more impactful. It's a little more interesting, I think, and I like what's going on there. And you don't have, it doesn't, nothing has to be mapped out really. It has to just be what you feel is good on the page. Okay, so if you have a favorite, here's something that I brought out. I thought was kind of cool. Where are we? Here we are. This is like I guess a biscuit cutter, but it's really big. But I thought, oh, wouldn't that make a nice surface? We'll try one with that. Okay, so anybody have questions about this first round with the heavy black? And I'll show you if this is a little dry now, I'm going to go back in there and add the color so you can see what happens to it. Okay, that's our debossed method. I'm going to put this in the water unless somebody has a question or wants to see something else. No? Okay. Going in. All righty. Now to just work quickly, because I wanted to get in as much as I can during our session, I'm going to use some fluorescent markers. Okay. Now, I don't know if a lot of this is not that dry, but we're going to go for it anyway, just because of our limited time. Okay, so I'm thinking this area of, and this can be done in paint. And on the second one, I'll show you paint. But I wanted to show you some markers so you get some ideas of, oh, it could be done in a lot of different ways. Now, if I had some pink here, it might be a good idea to repeat that somewhere. So I'm going to bring that over here. It's always nice when you're working composition-wise to repeat your color at least twice in a painting. The best scenario is 3 times, but you know, that gets a little overkill sometimes. Okay, now I'm going to try the, well, let's see how the blue's working today. Okay, so here's the chain, and the chain got a little wiggly and, you know, went all over a little bit. You know what's kind of fun too is to actually go outside the box a little here and there. Okay, now here's a green marker. Now the K is okay. It's okay. You can see it, but is it really, you know, stand outish? Well, I don't know that it is, but you can make it a little more visible by using the marker or paint or whatever. And I like the way the things are overlapping each other. They're integrated on the page. That's what makes also very good composition. So it's not only you're repeating color, but you're repeating design elements, and you're overlapping and you're integrating them so they work together. Now, in this case, where should we put the green a little bit? I'm just going to make a green square down here in the corner. That's kind of a made up thing, but it's a repeat of that. And then maybe one other place, which I think in this case, I'm just going to put a green bar or band along the top. Okay, that's enough. All right, the last color I'm going to add is going to be, I think the last color, maybe 2 more. This is an orange, and it was an orange. That looks a little pink. Hang on. there it is. Sorry. Sorry for the mix-up. This is quite a neon, but that's kind of fun with all these colors that are happening here. And the same thing. Now you can overlap or you can interrupt. And then maybe there's just, like I have up there, we're just going to put a piece of orange over here, and then maybe one little square here. Okay, so you can see that your composition is coming together, and we're going to give one more highlight to this circle, the circle that's left, and I think that's just going to be the center of the universe, yellow. We're going to let that be as it is. Okay, so you can see, I think you can see. Oh, here we go. That's better to the camera. You can see that it's an interesting composition of abstract forms, and it, you know, works together. Now on the other one, on the top, what I'm going to do is mix a color of paint and go right over the whole thing. So you can see this is what happens when you mix different colors. They can be paint or whatever. And here I'm going to do one, just one color. So what color should that be? Let's see. Why don't we go with like a magenta? That's exciting. Okay. Now the same thing's going to happen here as otherwise. You have to get your paint in a nice creamy method, nice creamy texture. I think I might need more paint than that. Okay. You know, surprisingly, acrylics go a long way normally. It's not, you know, you can't revive them as well with watercolors. You add water and they come back to life. Acrylics, once they dry, it's a plastic base, so it's not as forgiving that way. Okay, so what happens when you put color over this whole thing? Well, we're going to find out. Okay. And I think I'm going to go slightly outside. But it's really the technique or the effect that you're going for. It's like, gee, you know, how do I feel about looking through a magenta screen? Is that really kind of cool? Is that what I want? Do I like it when there's just a little focus there, or should we do the whole thing? Let's go for the whole thing this time. So if you're saying to yourself, oh, I like the design, but now a little bit of that black is picking up, so it's not that clean of a color, but it'll work okay for demonstration purposes. Okay, so there's what happens when it's one color, and when it dries, it's actually going to dry back a little bit, so it's not going to be as dark as it is here. I should really finish that edge. Okay, that's debossing. Okay, we're going to do one more, and I'm going to try to do a different kind of painting technique with that one. Okay, anyone have questions about what happened here with the all over paint, or with the, I call this spot color. Whoops, spot color. No? Okay. Well, let me try one more then, and we'll see where that takes us. Okay, this one, you know how I am with the Ks. So here we are. I'm thinking I'm going to make this into like a pattern, all kinds of patterns, and I'm going to use the pen in this case. And then I'm going to use some tools here. Now, this is a little package. I don't know, you see these little guys? They're like buttons, only they're like jewels, but they're set on a piece of acetate. So they're like, you know, they're all together and they'll stay together. So what I'd like to do is down the side, I'm going to press in a pattern completely down the side. And I mean, this is something, if you wanted to try it with a pen like we did originally, that's one thing, but it doesn't create a regular pattern. And they're not going to, you're going to have to spend a lot more time drawing circles that are all going to be different. Here, they're more or less the same, and they're in a group, and it works well together. So, you know, they have these in hobby stores. You can get them any size. They're like little beads, and you paste them on. I guess people paste them on things like jewelry or pictures. Once in a while, I find a use for them. Okay, so that's the pattern going down the side. So that's the downstroke of my K. Now what I'd like to do, I have a paper clip here. So what I'm going to do here in the paper clip is I'm going to score using the paper clip. And this makes a pretty good score, so you don't have to go crazy. And inside, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to turn this around so I can make this triangle here. All different scores inside. But this is, you know, working with found objects is so fun. And then when you get done, you say, wow, this is made from this and this and this. And then the effect has a very artistic feel about it. So now I'm going in and making, okay. So now we have dots, lines. So what are we going to put out here? What can be out here? Let's see. I'm thinking that I have this little round cutter, and maybe I'll make these other kinds of designs out here. They can be overlapping, so it sort of changes the form even. I'm going to do the same thing up on the top here. I'm going to use the same kind of black background idea for one, because I want you to see that that's something that can really work for you. Okay, speaking of okay. Okay, so now there's stripes here. There's this waffly pattern here. There's a group of dots here. So let's see what happens. And what I want to do is kind of reinforce this point here, because it didn't, you know, in fact, I don't think I'm gonna do that right now. We'll see what happens on the second print. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more of the black to the blue. I like the way the black and the blue work together. I thought that was good. Does anybody I haven't seen any chats here. Anybody have questions so far? No? Okay. It's so quiet. It seems like there's no one out there. But I know you're there. Okay. Again, black and blue together. Oh, I don't want to get out of order. Whoops. Now, who was it that said they thought they rubbed their piece a little. Was that you, Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. What were you using? Were you using a spongy thing like this?
It's a little rougher sponge.
Oh, a little rougher. Okay. So if it's a little rougher, then go a little lighter. All. And sometimes the roughing of the texture adds to the final print.
When I first tried to print, it stuck, and some of the paper stuck to.
Oh, the actual printing
Yeah,
stuck to the paper?
yeah,
Oh, I think, well, maybe the paint was too dry.
too dry.
It needed a little more water.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, this one we're just going to do black, and then the other one, I showed you color over. I'm going to show you color under. Okay, well, first let's get this going. One thing at a time. Now, does it make a difference, the direction of the brush when you're putting the paint on? Do you think that makes a difference? Well, it can, because it'll give, like where the lines are, it may give them a better direction for printing. That's something you have to experiment with. And when you have the dots, that's the same thing. You have to see what really works better for each kind of a pattern. Okay. And let's see what this does for the printing of it. Okay. I'm trying to think of, if I do it this way, how's it going to print? Ooh, that wasn't good. I got a schmutz on my paper. Now I'm going to go the other way. So now the K, well, you have to turn the paper around. The K is facing that way. So you can see it. I mean, it's arty, as they say in the business. It's arty. What I want to do now is put a color underneath, a pattern. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to empty this water.
Karen, it's Cheryl. I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
When you imprint the initial design on the styrofoam, I mean,
Yes.
how hard should you press?
How hard?
How hard?
Well, you know, it's gonna depend on your own personal. You should press until you hear a little crinkling in the styrofoam. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. And you know, sometimes it makes a bigger crinkling than other times, or not. Now let's see. And then sometimes you really want to press hard. I put a book or something down first and really give it a, you know, it depends on how well you've embossed, debossed your surface. Okay, so what's going to be good with, let's see. How about a green under there? It's kind of a cool green. And these are going to dry pretty quickly, so hopefully. Once again, mix the color. And then I'm just going to judge, you know, an area. And when you're doing this, you know, you have time and you can spend a little more of an effort making your if you put a color underneath and you want it to be even, then make it look even. I'm working quickly because we're limited in our time. And I don't want to put down a lot of paint because then it won't dry. Okay, So this is kind of what we did with the, except that was a dark color with the crab last week and the gold. All right, so you put down a color, and now, I mean, you could put down more than one color at a time, but I think let's stick with one color, because otherwise the colors will get mixed up, and they'll get they'll start mixing on the page, and could be yucky. I don't know. It could be. Or you could add the paint after. Okay, now you don't really want to let this black plate, I'm calling it the black plate, dry that much. So we're going to get right back to it and keep it moist with paint, because if it dries on there, it'll fill in the areas, it'll dry and fill in the areas. That's why when you do one print to another, if you don't have a lot of paint on there, it's one thing, but if you have a lot of paint, you should get it out of there and then wash it off and try and start again. This is filled in a couple of areas, but I'm going to show you anyway, because we're just going to go right over that green so that you can see, wow, what a cool idea that is. Technique, I should say, concept. Technique and concept. And you know what might be a really fun thing to do would be if you created a pack of note cards for yourself, and then you did like all kinds of different Ks, like one could be scripty, one could be, and you can still use these debossed method. And everybody wants to know, how did you create that? What is that from? What is that method? Because it's a little mysterious. And that's what when I described the class, I said, oh, it's a little bit mysterious. It's a little bit magical. Okay, so now we're ready once again. Pull this back over. Now the green is not fully dry. It's okay, but we're going to go for it anyway. And I know you understand the difference. Okay. And somebody asked about how long do you press? Well, let's see, we can say as long as it's an even pressure, and you try to go around your edges to make sure, especially if you want something that has an edge, that's really an important factor to get that going. Okay. So there's a whole different look. I mean, it could look like a field of flowers. We know that I know it's a K, but who's to say? Who's to say what that is? And I especially like this little guy here. This one, this made a very interesting pattern. It almost looks like bushes or, landscaping things. So, whatever you want it to be. Okay, any questions on this, where we have the black print again, and you can go in here and paint as well. And here we have color, printing over a color. I think somebody did a print. I'm trying to think of who sent me that, where I had suggested that they do a colored background and then print over it. Does anybody remember who I said that to?
I think it probably me, the one with the birds.
That's right, Doris. It was. Now that I hear your voice. Yes, it was you, because can you imagine your bird print and you still have your styrofoam? Can you imagine putting that on? And I said ombre because it would look like a silhouette of those birds over like a sunset sky. I think that's a cool thing to try. So give it a shot.
Yep.
Okay, now we're going to go on. And any other questions about this? Pressing, nothing?
Yes, I have a question. When you say wash, you can wash off your plate, your styrofoam.
Yes.
How? And I mean, with warm water, hot water, with
Oh, just a warm water. Just
okay.
warm water, and I use a paper towel just to scrub it off. And
Immediately.
yeah, pretty close. But if it soaks in the water, most of the paint will come out. Only if you left it like, for hours would it get caked in there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go from working from a photograph. All right. And you know what I'm going to do? Just because I can't stand working with dirty water, I'm going to change the water, the paint water. So hang on 1 second. Talks amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry for the interruption. It just drives me crazy to have really dirty water. Okay, now the photograph that I'm using is one of a flower that I have in my yard. And I don't know if you're familiar with those flowers. It's a passion flower. And here's what it looks like. It's very dramatic. It has spiky things all around. It has 10 full petals. And some of them come in this color, which is like a magenta color. And some of them come white and green and purple. But this one is, this year, this is the one I have going on. So when you look at this, let's see. Okay, what I've decided to do in this case is I've decided to do a couple things here. I wanted to integrate a few things so that you can add them to your mix of how you're working. I will draw this on there with the pen, but I'm going to leave a border. And what I want to do with the border is I want to just do a painted border, and on top of that, I want to letter something with masking fluid so that you can see how to integrate some of the painting techniques that you know. Okay, so first of all, we're going to indicate a border just by drawing. And this is so forgiving. This is not like, oh boy, is it straight? Is it, is it the wide enough? Is it deep enough? Okay, so now the only thing that really concerns me when I'm drawing from a photographic reference is, am I filling the area? Is the composition good? Am I getting a sense of what the flower really is like? And because this has a real centralized look, I'm just going to give myself a very light circle in the center. So I say, oh, okay, I know where I am, and I know I'll have some petals going this way, some petal, and then there's some linear things in the background that I may put in. There's a little bit of green. I think I'm just going to leave that for color. And that's the other thing you have to decide. Do you want to incorporate anything that's around here? Or are you just spotlighting the flower? Okay, now for this kind of printing, you don't want it to be too complex. I think that's what happened. And the reason I didn't want to really get into the first one that I did, the peonies, was because look how crazy. I mean, even though in the end it ended up looking like a peonies and it ended up looking like leaves in the background. I think that was because of my painterly ability to paint onto here and then to transfer. But it should be a little bit of both. But that one was very complicated. Okay, now what you need to do. So this is my outer circle in the flower, and then what you want to do is see. Okay, and you really want to look at these shapes of these petals. They're not all, and what I like to do is, even though I'm going to have a border, I'm going to break through the border. And I'm doing this very lightly for the first round because I want to make sure am I liking this? Is it too Is it too regular? Do I need to do something else a little bit? And look at where the petals either overlap or not. So at the bottom here, this one overlaps. So I'm going to bring this one down. And it's not really even a complete petal shape. It's just, oh boy. I need a different pen. Okay. Hey, Will, give me that partner's pen in the kitchen. Excuse me, ladies. Oh, Lord. Okay. The partner's pen. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 10 on here. So you really have to make sure that you have, aha, to the rescue. There we go. To the rescue. All right. And here. Isn't that something when you least expect it, you just run out. And there's a little piece hanging. Can you see this little piece hanging off the petal? It's kind of an interesting thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 9, 10. And this one I'm going to keep inside. It has a whitish, but it overlaps. And then the last one up here, it's kind of more spoony looking, more round. Okay, so now we know where we're headed. Now, the other thing that's pretty dramatic about this photograph are these lines. So those are the things I really want to get to next, besides knowing where my center is. So, in fact, I'm going to put a group of lines around the circle because there is some inside there. Now, the ones that are really long, and I'm going to emphasize these petals a little more. This one has a little hook on it. So now I know where I'm headed. And every once in a while on the petal, there's kind of a line that comes down. So whether some of these secondary details, you don't want to press as hard as you have with the outer edge and the more prominent details. So just press lightly and know that it's there. Okay. Okay. Now in the center, there's kind of a mushroomy looking thing. So I'm just going to get to that a little bit. And then there's a line coming across. And it looks like a barbell. Okay. And then there's another mushroom thing on the other side. Okay, now we're going to get to these real spiky, the dark purple. So from the outside in, and they do go between the petals. You see them, they're not just on the petal, they're between the petal. So this is what I mean by interpreting from a photograph. You have to decide, wow, how am I going to make that look? How am I going to get that feel? And is it going to be correct? Hopefully it will. And we're also going to emphasize that when we get into painting this. Okay, now there's another row of little things back here, and I'm going to give them another feel and another feel of it being in a circle, because that's, I think, the character of this flower is just that. Okay, now as far as what's going on in the background, I'm going to put in a couple of these linear shapes only because they're so different from the actual flower itself. Now, if I had a long time, of course, I'd be doing a better job with the drawing, but I want you to get the idea, most important. Okay, so here's this. And then over here, there's another structure piece coming down. Now, why add those? Well, because it's in contrast to what's going on here. Okay, so I think we're pretty cool with our flower. I just want to make sure that the outside petals are really into the foam, because that's what's gonna hold it together. So whether it's a peonies or whether it's a passion flower, whatever it is, and there's a couple little things inside here. And any details that you see within here that do not work themselves into the design, because you can't get real crazy detail in this technique. You have to get your basic. Okay. And I'm going to reinforce my border a little bit around the edge, just because I really want to see that frame. Okay, now comes the painting. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to use a little more. Let me get that back in the picture here. Okay, going to put some more of this magenta color out. Those real spiky things that we did that are going all around are a real deep purple. Let's make sure I got the right color here. Here we are. Okay. Deep purple. The center has kind of a creamy yellow little piece of color in there. So I'm going to add that in. Let's see. There's like a little bit of a gray blue. So I'm going to put that in for those structures that are there. And green. Now I'm putting down two colors green. I have some green here, but I'm going to put down a darker green here for like accent. Okay, let's see if I can get this in the shot a little better. There we go. Okay. All right, and what else do we want in there? I think, oh, maybe some white. Maybe some white. Which in watercolor painting, if you guys have worked with me in the past, you know I'm like anti white paint, because I'm saying that we should use the paper for that. But in this case, since we're building on a printing format, we're not going to do that. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to get right to the painting, and I hope I have enough time, but I'll try. Okay. Let's get to the flower right away first. Oh. Hang on. Whoa, hang on. Okay, now if you look at these flowers, it's darker on the edges and lighter in the center. So that's exactly how I'm going to approach this. Darker on the edges. I'm just going to do this really quick. Dark, 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 all around. And you could even, you know, if you wanted to, you could even mix a little of the purple in there. And probably if I was painting this and took the time, I would definitely do that. But you know, it'll have the character of the flower if you get the main things in the painting. Okay, now to get that lighter area, I'm going to go right to the mixing the white in there. I'm putting that in the center. And this is where your painting ability comes to put into play, because believe me, this you're thinking about painting all the all the time that you're doing this. Okay, now that sort of has that feel. Now I'm going to put some of that creamy yellow in the middle because it's going to get the dark purple over top. So it's going to be a little, you want to work with the lighter color first. So you put this in the middle, a little bit on there. Okay. Now we're going to go to that dark purple color, those spiky things. And I have a big, one of my wild hairs on the end of the brush, which you don't want that. Okay, now these spiky things with your brush, you know, you're gonna go down and you're gonna probably hit it a couple of times, and try to look at the the photograph way. Some of them are, you know, they're not even, they're just in there, and of course, since all the paint is wet, you're going to be working really kind of quickly, and you're going to actually get into where it meets up with the other part of the flower. Okay. So spiky, and you can use a smaller brush, and you can make these longer, but you have to, since you're working wet over wet, you have to kind of, like, it's almost like an oil painting where you have to, you know, really, you know, work quickly. And then if you see something, okay, so that's sort of the feel of the inside of the flower. Now, that real center part has a little pink in there, so I'm going to put some of that in there. Whoops. I'm going to put some of that in here. And also, I'm going to put a few little dotty things. Okay, now real quick, let's get some green back here.
I'll show you this technique. We'll not breathe close to each other. You see
Okay.
how it is?
Yeah.
She's.
Okay, so now the structure part, this thing that I have in the background, it's I'm gonna just mix a little green with because it's, I don't know, it's like a non-color. You ever get those colors that are like non-colors? But I'm gonna put it in there because I think it adds interest. It also will define the edge of your flower if it prints well. Okay, now the border. Remember the border out here? What are we going to do with that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the darker green. Okay, and I know. Here's what's going to happen here. I'm going to just put it on the edge because the masking fluid has to go on first. But I want to print some kind of an edge. So I'm going to give it an edge. Okay, now let's see what happens. Here we go. And just remember, you know, when you're painting as quickly as I'm painting, it leaves something to be desired. But when you're doing it at your own pace, it should work out better. But it has like a kind of a cool feel about it. And you can go back now. Here's the plate. You can go back now and try again and really pump up some areas that you felt, well, you know, that it could have been a little more defined. It could have been done a little better. Here, there was a kind of a blob of purple. So that's when I put that on to make it look darker. But those are the evaluations that you make once you're working from, you know, the foam, from the photograph to the, let me put this all together so we can get a feel for it. And no matter what you're painting, I think Marilyn, I had said, you know, your flowers that you had on Instagram, your what were they, roses? Marilyn?
I think they were roses. Yes.
Okay, I was thinking that they would be a perfect candidate for this kind of technique.
Yeah, I might just try that.
Yeah, because they had, you know, you had the lines in there. Anybody have any questions for me in these last few minutes?
No, this was good.
Okay.
Very enjoyable.
All right. Well, you know, I'd like to see what everybody does with this image. So I'm going to try to send it out to everybody, you know, over as an email. So, you know, just how you interpret this, and you don't have to have a border. You could have a border. You don't have to have one. But I'm going to try.
That looks pretty.
I'm going to send this out to you. Okay.
Great.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Are we good?
We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All righty. Thank you all for coming. And next week
Thank you.
we're gonna wind it up, but we're gonna learn some new things. And I'd love to see what everybody does during the week. We'll put together.
Karen, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Okay, you're welcome so much.
That's great.
Bye, Karen.
Bye, darling.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
You
too.
Thank you. You too. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Hey, Donna,
Yes.
can you send me that baby carriage again? I lost it.
Okay. All right. I have to get the thing. I did I found in my mother-in-law's old stuff. She had a pizza man.
Oh, that's cute.
And she had the ravioli cutter. The little, with all the pictures. I have experimented with all that. This had some.
Oh, that could be so
but,
fun.
Oh,
But
wow.
my letter didn't come too great. But
I love
tried.
that. I love that. You're actually working while we're working here.
Yeah, I worked the same.
That's terrific. Okay.
All right. I'll
Okay,
send you
good.
that.
All
I
right.
still have to get my acrylics though. All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend. This was fun.
Okay. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.